In the 9th century AD, the Vikings were the terror of Europe, their longships striking fear from the fjords of Norway to the shores of Iberia. But one of their boldest, least-known raids took place far from their northern homelands, on the sun-scorched coasts of North Africa. This is the story of Björn Ironside, a legendary Viking chieftain, and his audacious raid on the emirate of Nekor in modern-day Morocco around 859 AD. A tale of plunder, battle and ambition that stretched the Viking world to new horizons. Björn Ironside, son of the infamous Ragnar Lothbrok, at least according to Norse sagas, was no ordinary warrior. A skilled navigator and ruthless leader, he earned his name through feats of daring. By the 850s AD, Björn, alongside his ally or kinsman Hastein, set out on one of the most ambitious Viking expeditions ever recorded. Their target, the Mediterranean, a glittering prize of wealthy ports, bustling trade routes and unsuspecting kingdoms. After ravaging the coasts of Francia, the Viking fleet, possibly numbering 62 longships, turned south. They struck Al-Andalus, the Muslim-ruled Iberian Peninsula, sacking cities like Seville and Algeciras. But their ambition didn't stop there. The Vikings sailed further, past the Balearic Islands toward the shores of North Africa, where the emirate of Nekor awaited. Nekor, located in the Rif region of present-day Morocco, was a thriving hub in the 9th century AD. Ruled by the Idrisid dynasty, it was a center of trade and culture, connecting the Maghreb to the wider Islamic world. Its markets brimmed with goods, spices, textiles and precious metals, making it an irresistible target for Viking raiders. But Nekor was no easy prey. The Idrisids were a formidable power with a disciplined military and fortified coastal defenses. The primary sources for this raid are sparse but compelling. The Fragmentary Annals of Ireland, a medieval Irish text, describe Bjorn and Hastein's attack, while Arabic chroniclers like Al-Bakri, in his Book of Roads and Kingdoms, recount the arrival of the Majus, the Muslim term for Vikings or pagans on North African shores. These accounts, though sometimes contradictory, paint a vivid picture of a daring assault. Around 859 AD, Björn Ironside's fleet descended on Nekor. The Vikings likely used their signature tactics, a swift surprise attack from the sea, leveraging the speed and maneuverability of their longships. These vessels, shallow-drafted and agile, could navigate coastal waters and even river systems, allowing the Vikings to strike deep into enemy territory. The Fragmentary Annals suggest the Vikings caught Nekor off guard. They stormed the city, looting homes, mosques and markets. The raiders weren't just after gold or goods, they sought captives. In Norse texts, the people of Nekor are called Blamen, often translated as blue men, likely a reference to the dark-skinned Berber and Arab inhabitants of the region. These captives were highly valued, destined for slave markets in Ireland or beyond. But the people of Nekor didn't surrender easily. The Idrisid forces, possibly led by local governors or commanders, rallied to defend their city. Arabic sources describe the Majus as fierce and relentless, wielding axes and swords with terrifying skill. The battle was brutal, with no clear victor recorded. The Vikings, masters of hit-and-run raids, weren't seeking to conquer or hold territory. Their goal was plunder, and they got it: sacks of treasure, livestock, and dozens, perhaps hundreds of captives. The Fragmentary Annals note that the Vikings faced stiff resistance, with Mauritanian forces, likely Berber warriors, engaging them in pitched combat. Al-Bakri's account emphasizes the devastation left behind, with Nekor's markets and homes ravaged. Yet the Vikings' naval supremacy allowed them to escape, retreating to their ships before a decisive counterattack could be mounted. With their holds stuffed with loot and captives, Bjorn and Hastein sailed north. The captives from Nekor, some of whom may have been high-ranking, were taken to Ireland, where Viking strongholds like Dublin served as major slave trading hubs. The raid on Nekor was a triumph of Viking audacity, showcasing their ability to strike thousands of miles from home, in a land utterly alien to their own. But the raid wasn't without cost. The Mediterranean expedition was grueling. Some sources suggest the Viking fleet faced storms, disease, and further clashes as they navigated homeward. By the time Bjorn returned to Scandinavia, his legend was cemented, but his fleet was diminished. How much of this story is true? Historians debate the details. The Fragmentary Annals were written centuries after the events, blending fact with legend. Arabic sources, while closer to the period, are sometimes vague or biased, portraying the Vikings as barbaric invaders. Archaeological evidence is scarce. No Viking shipwrecks or settlements have been found in Morocco, though coins and artifacts from the Islamic world have turned up in Scandinavian hoards, hinting at trade or plunder. Still, the raid on Nekor fits the Viking pattern-bold, opportunistic strikes on wealthy coastal targets driven by the promise of riches and glory. It also highlights their remarkable reach. In an age without maps or compasses, Björn Ironside's fleet navigated the Mediterranean from the fjords of Norway to the deserts of North Africa, a testament to their seafaring prowess. The raid on Nekor wasn't an isolated event. Vikings were active across the Mediterranean in the 9th century AD, attacking Sicily, Italy, and even Byzantine territories. Their interactions with the Islamic world weren't just violent. Vikings traded furs, amber, and slaves for silver, silks, and spices. The presence of Islamic coins in Viking graves shows the depth of this exchange. In North Africa, the raid on Nekor may have been one of several. Some historians speculate that Vikings also struck Asila or other Moroccan ports around 844 AD, though evidence is thinner. These raids didn't lead to Viking settlements, unlike in England or Ireland. The Maghreb's strong Muslim dynasties and harsh climate deterred colonization. Instead, the Vikings left a legacy of fear and perhaps a grudging respect for their daring. Björn Ironside's raid on Nekor is a forgotten chapter in the Viking saga, overshadowed by their exploits in Europe. Yet it captures the essence of the Viking Age, a time of exploration, violence, and unyielding ambition. From the cold waters of Scandinavia to the warm shores of Morocco, Björn and his warriors pushed the boundaries of their world, leaving behind tales of plunder and battle that echo through history.